Morning and welcome to the Fifth Quarter AZ, your Northern Arizona sports show. I'm your host, Tyrone Johnson, and our co-host, Danny Neal. He's still out, but we have our, I guess you could call him additional co-host. You can call him just the man. We got Mr. Flag Coco himself, Russell Wood. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I seem to be seeing you more and more the last few weeks than ever. Last night, Coconino volleyball got a big win against Cortez, swept 3-0. Black High volleyball lost Wednesday in a close one to Deer Valley. We got cross country this weekend, which brings us to our guest for this week. She's coached Flag High cross country to 17 state championships. 11 with the girls, 6 with the boys, and she's won Coach of the Year. She won Flag High Coach of the Decade for the 2010s. It's a pleasure to have on to this show, Trina Painter.
Good morning.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
I'm good this morning. How are you?
Oh, doing great. You know, I had to go ahead and wear a little Flag High green. You know,
we're matching.
That's it. That's it. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. Of course, it's an honor for me. It's an honor for the show. So really appreciate your time this morning.
You bet.
Yeah. So, Coach, could you just briefly tell us about yourself, about your career as an athlete, and then also how you got into coaching and your career as it stands now?
Sure. I was actually an athlete here in Arizona. I ran at Horizon High School in the Phoenix area, became a state champion. Then I went on to run for 2 years at Phoenix College, and we were national champions there in cross country. From there, I was fortunate to go to the University of Texas of Austin, Hook 'em Horns. And we also won national championship in cross country. And then we won indoor track as well. So I have had a great opportunity to be amongst great coaches and great teams throughout my personal career. I moved to Flagstaff in 1995 to train for the Olympic trials and have been in 4 different Olympic trials, just missing the team by 2 spots, and just fell in love with Flagstaff being from Arizona. Once I started having my own family and kids up here, I was kind of talked into coaching. I had coached adults before, but I hadn't ever done high school. And once I started, I fell in love with it. And I think I might be on my 20th season, but it's just amazing to be a part of the Flag High program.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing to see what you do on a year in and year out basis and the way that your teams compete. And I guess just championships is bred in you. I mean, you've been doing it since high school, state champions and national champions. You know, I always ask you, I need to get a little of that rubbed off. I've been at it 16 years and still don't have one.
You know, it's not as easy as people think. And I, again, have been fortunate to have essentially walked into a gold mine. There was already a decent program, and the girls had already won, I think, 3 championships before I came. And so I just sort of inherited an amazing program. I did have to work on the boys' side a little bit. But Flagstaff just produces great athletes in terms of distance runners. And I think sometimes people do think it's super easy because of the number we've had, but they're fresh kids every year. And what your program is doing is impressive as well. And you have some accolades behind your name too that I admire and appreciate.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate that for sure. Mm-hmm. So getting into this year, you know, coming back, the girls, they didn't win it last year, but the boys did. And so this year, what's the projections for both boys and girls?
You know, every year I believe we have the talent to be a contender at the state level on both sides. And I have to say that's true this year as well. It all comes down to keeping these kids healthy and preparing them to do the very best on the right day, which is the state meet. So if we can sort of follow that equation, then I think that we'll be a contender for sure. I can't make any real predictions. I know what's in my heart, what I want, and I think what the kids want, but we'll have to see what happens in November.
Awesome.
You're part of a long distance running community in Flagstaff that draws world class runners. Um, Certainly, Flank High has benefited from that. But what is it about, other than the elevation that everyone talks about being at 7,000 feet? What is it about Flagstaff that draws runners from around the world?
Yeah, Flagstaff definitely is the sweet spot for the elevation for training. The other nice thing for the elite athletes when we come here to train is that we can drop down to lower elevations, whether it be Sedona or Camp Verde, to do some of that leg speed work, like within an hour. So that is very convenient. We also have a major airport just a couple hours away. As a professional athlete, you tend to travel a lot to races and events. So having, you don't have to drive too far to get out of town for training and also for racing. We have just miles and miles of great trails and dirt to train on, which makes it great for the number of miles that these people are running. And it's just clean air, clean water. It's a good community. It's a very supportive community. People get excited now about standing in line at Macy's behind an Olympian. I mean, it's pretty cool.
One of those families that came to Flagstaff is the Hall family. And you've certainly benefited from having Hannah Hall and now Mia Hall as a senior. In fact, the last 4 individual champions from Division II were the Hall sisters. Can you tell us a little bit about them and how they've helped develop the program?
Oh, they're just like amazing kids. And I think that's what my number one recruit thing is finding a kid, not recruiting in a recruit, but kids on my team that have that right attitude. They are super sweet, they're supportive, but they're workhorses. They're not afraid to work, and they're not afraid to try new things. And I think having professional like athlete parents is very helpful because they can train at a little bit higher level because they really understand the recovery process. And they have a lot of tools in their home to use because mom and dad are using them to help with their recovery. And they kind of know all the ins and outs and the lifestyle of a professional runner. And so I think that they just absorb that and incorporate that into their own training. And it's very beneficial.
So, Coach, as you go, cross country is an individual sport, but a team sport as well in terms of the scoring and everything that takes place. What do you do in order to assure team bonding, cohesiveness, that everybody's going to be together on the same page, pushing each other in the right way?
I think a lot of it just starts with creating that family atmosphere and kind of a love and respect for each other. And so we do a lot of social activities. We have a certain day where we all wear the same color tank top when we're training. But also we train, and obviously we train in little groups according to their speed and ability. And I think when you suffer together in a workout, you make strong relationships and bonds with people. And you know that if you're hurting, your teammate is hurting in that race, and you need to help each other. And they're just we really preach like encouraging, supportive community and keeping your teammates kind of in sight when we're racing. Because yes, of course, the closer we finish together, the better our team is going to score. And we also really focus on everybody matters. It's not just the front runner. You can't win races or meets with just one super fast kid, but we need to have all 7 in that varsity squad performing at their best and trying to be as close to the first runner as they can.
How do you keep your athletes focused? I mean, they know that they're going to one of the best cross-country programs in the state, if not the country. They know your success. How do you keep their heads screwed on right? How do you keep them from thinking that, maybe they can coast this year and still win a championship? Maybe they can, train a little lighter and they can still finish, top 2, still win sectional. How do you keep their focus?
I think we just keep circling back to what your team goals are. And in cross country, it's very black and white. We look at the results. You can tell where you place. You can tell what teams are running well. You can tell how we size up against other competitors. And Even if we start off not as strong, we know where we're headed, and we just continue to talk about that, not every day, but at key moments. We have teachable moments when we bring it up, and we try to bring them back in to realize what we're doing, and why we're doing certain things, and kind of chasing those goals.
And Coach, with the success that the program has had, I know people from the outside, they may define success as you winning state championships, as you winning sectionals, as you winning a bunch of meets. How do you define success for your kids, yourself, your program?
Yeah, I think that's right. We all just look at the scoreboard typically, but when I see a group of kids that can come together and work as a team, and also we all just move forward, and it might be a kid that runs 25 minutes for a 5K and they improve by 1.5 minutes. To me, that's a victory. And I think often people don't see those smaller things inside. We have a very large group, 70, 80 kids. So watching these kids all improve and learn how to love the sport and actually compete, to me, that's the winning season. Of course, we like to bring home trophies, everybody does, but again, just moving kids forward and encourage them to learn how to run, to stay fit and to improve, but also to be good people and good teammates. To me, that's what it's really about.
You said that you got 70 or 80 kids in your program. I think you had 7 race in the summit race at Peaks last week. How do you keep the others involved if they're not running in the high profile races? How do you keep them motivated?
Well, in cross country, there's different levels. So we can run varsity and then we run open. So I put my top, it depends on the event, 7 or 10 in the varsity races, and then all the other kids get to run in the open. So it's a great sport in that nobody has to sit the bench. We all get to participate. And so when you're racing and then you're finished, you're out there cheering and running around the course for the rest of your team. And again, I had to get on the kids because they get so excited. And so they were out there. The varsity race last this past week, and I kept seeing them out on the course, and I'm like, what are you doing out here? But they were out there cheering for their team. So it's kind of like, I can't scold them, but I was like, you got to focus on your own race. But they just love to go out and cheer and watch. So they are engaged that way. They're watching the race or they're participating in the race.
This week you got the Canyon de Chelly meet.
No.
That's not this week?
I believe Coconino might be going there, but my squad is going to the Fountain Hills Invitational.
That's right. I got it written down wrong. What are some of your favorite tracks around the state for your runners to run on?
Well, Fountain Hills actually is very fun. It's a lot of grass and it's got some rolling hills, no major hills, but you run around this lake and then on the hour, the big fountain comes up. So the kids think that's kind of fun, but it does get warm down there. And I think obviously we like the state meet. Twilight is a big hit for the kids because we run at night and they put a bunch of lights out on it, and it's usually on a golf course, which is pretty flat and very fast. So that one is probably the highlight of the season for most of our kids.
Yeah, the state tournament is the state meet is always at the Cave Creek golf course.
Yes, it's
golf courses are usually, they're usually faster than say Buffalo Park.
Not always. Buffalo, it's all about the surface. Buffalo Park has a very nice hard surface. Buffalo Park is slower because we're at 7,000 feet. And we include a pretty significant hill in our course. But the state meet is on grass, but it's also partially grass and partially hard packed dirt like Buffalo Park. But the grass is a little bit thick, so it runs a little slower. And again, the little rolling hills tends to disrupt the rhythm of the runner, and that can also slow down their pace, like the overall pace.
Yeah, I talk to Coach Jay all the time, and everybody in other sports likes talking about how teams have to come up to Flagstaff and at some point the altitude hits them. Does the same apply to cross country? Do you see Phoenix and Tucson kids coming up to Buffalo Park and maybe hitting a wall halfway through?
I do think that the altitude is going to impact them, but I also encourage those coaches, because I want them to come up to flag and race with us. is that honestly early season when it's 100 to 110 in Phoenix and they come up here and they get to race in 75 degrees, that drop in temperature really gives them a bump in terms of performance that offsets the altitude. So a lot of kids their time won't be the same as Phoenix, but their times are similar to the Flagstaff kids because they've got that coolness in the temperature change. So you're never going to run as fast at altitude, but you can definitely perform well and still have a good race. But running up that hill, I think if you interviewed some of the Phoenix schools, they would probably tell you different. It hurts that lack of oxygen for that first meet.
So there's a bit of a balance there, is what you're saying.
I think so.
When your kids go down to Phoenix early in the year and it's still 100 degrees down here, does it kind of go the opposite way you were talking?
It does. And the Phoenix people don't believe me, but the Flagstaff kids typically melt down if it's way too hot. We get a lot of red faces. It's just, they struggle. But the more we go down there, they get a little used to it. Their body acclimates. They learn how to hydrate better and to run in that hotter temperature. And this for the state meet, sometimes we're in the afternoon session and sometimes we're in the morning. And so we just pray for cooler days, but the heat does impact us, probably not to the same degree as altitude for teams coming up, but we definitely take a hit when it's hot.
Coach, can you tell us, in your opinion, how does being part of your program, how does that make the athlete a better student, a better person by the time they finish with your program?
You should ask the principal and athletic director. No, the teachers. Hopefully they are learning responsibility. They are learning time management. They are learning to be respectful and grateful, because without their teachers and being good students, they aren't going to get to compete. And so again, those are the things that we're preaching to the kids in terms of when we go to events, to be nice and grateful and thankful to the event people and the meet directors and the volunteers. And we hope that spills over to the teachers. Teachers that are on your side and are encouraging and curious about how you do in sports. It's just a better relationship. And even if the kid maybe doesn't get along with the teacher, we try to help them see that teacher as an asset. And that they need to work with them. And so I'm hopeful, and some of them want to run in college. So they've got to focus on their grades and get the right classes and just learn how to be good students. And I think there's a direct carryover. I think all athletes hopefully are better students because they support each other. You have to be a good student in order to be a good athlete and vice versa, or one is going to go away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just being part of sports is a privilege in and of itself. And so, you definitely got to handle your business in the classroom in order to come out and participate. And then when you're, in your social circle, hopefully being an athlete will also hold you to a higher standard and you'll make some better decisions when you're in that social circle. But Coach, when in some sports, attitude is huge in terms of, I got to be confident. I got to be this. Sometimes you got to walk that fine line between being confident and almost conceited. When it comes to your athletes and attitude, how do you direct them in the right way to bring the right attitude day in and day out for practices, meets, etc.?
We really talk about being gracious in victory and humble in defeat. And they tend to, if they're at an awards ceremony and they're getting a medal, they'll receive their medal and they'll shake every other person's hand. We try to focus on confidence, calm confidence, and not conceitedness, because we can get taken down at any minute. And again, with the way we score, if one of my top runners doesn't score well or goes down, has an issue, the team score can change dramatically. And I think that they know that there's other great teams out there that we respect. And it's anybody's game. It's a clean slate every time we go to the starting line. So I think we just really try and focus, like what you said, on confidence, but not cockiness.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line, especially now with, I know at least in our sport, with social media and everybody trying to put in clips of their best moments and, kids trying to go out and do that. I know that can be a tough thing in terms, because for us, somebody missed one shot and they head go to drooping and hanging. And it's just like, hey, the best shooter in the world missed over half their shots. You got to be able to take it and still do it. And so
That's right.
yeah.
Social media is like, ugh, for me. I don't see a lot of that, but if I do see something or hear something that does look a little bit more, boastful, I'll try to speak to those kids and, just coach them on how to have positive posts that aren't trying to take anyone else down. It's hard though, and kids, they see it all the time. So that's kind of the angle that they go, but we really try to focus on that and realizing, I tell them, I go, there's a target on your back and people are watching you and they're watching everything that you do and it matters. So trying to be a positive influence and not making the target even stronger, because there's, I don't want people to want to beat us even more. If we're jerks out there, so we try to be just considerate and nice and supportive.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing a great job at it.
Thanks.
Russell.
Yes, sir.
Yep, I was gonna say, you got any more questions?
Yeah, I got one more for you, Coach.
All right.
What continues to motivate you? I mean, you've been coaching for Flag High. I think this is your 18th or 19th season. You have all the championships. You've won awards. Um, what keeps your focus? What is it that you continue to want for the 2022 season and beyond?
It's all about the kids for me. Um, I There's new kids every time. You think, you watch a kid graduate and you're like, oh, this athlete was so special. And then these little freshmen come in and you're like, oh, you get all excited again because you see the freshness and you see their enthusiasm and it's like I can see where they could go in 4 years. And that's what motivates me to see how much an athlete can improve, from their first year to their last year. And I think, it's those relationships with the kids. They're just fun.
Well, it's been a pleasure to watch you since I've been doing Flag Cocoa. I've been doing this is now 11 years, and every single year you've got a champion, I believe. Maybe 1 year you finished second. But it's been a pleasure watching your. Wanted to ask you about when I gave you the award for athlete or coach of the year. I gave the athlete of the decade of the year to Tatiana Gillick. Is she still assisting you, or has she moved on, or?
She's still assisting, but she does have, she got like more of a full-time job. So she isn't able to come out as much, but she still gives of her time when she's in town and when she's available. So she will be traveling with us this weekend to Fountain Hills.
Okay.
All right, Coach. So we get into that point in time where we finishing up the interview, and so we can't let you go without answering a golden nugget. And so
Uh-oh.
So the golden nugget, I was going to initially focus in on some of the stuff that Russell asked in terms of focus and for yourself and for your athlete. But since we covered that a little bit, I guess the golden question for today is going to be, what qualities makes a good teammate, a good athlete? What qualities do you look for in an athlete that helps decide your top 7 besides their actual times?
I think their attitude, their behaviors, and their commitment or consistency, and that could be your ABCs. But I really believe it's your attitude and consistency. And commitment. Those are things that are huge for me as a coach to look at in athletes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's something that me myself, of course I like to make sure we have kids that's gonna have a proper attitude, consistency. I think that's something that kids really, really got to understand, that it can't be a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to come in and do it routinely at a certain level. And so hopefully if any of mine plug in, they can see, the greatest coach in Flag High history telling y'all exactly what it's going to take.
Right.
I got one more question for Coach Painter. Since we got Coach Jay here and you and Beth Haglin in volleyball, how does Flag High collect all these great coaches, and more importantly, how do they keep them? Because I'm sure you've had offers to go elsewhere. I know Coach Jay has had offers in the past. What is it about Flag High that keeps quality coaches around for so long?
Go ahead,
We
Coach.
love it. We have a good support. Our admins are great. We love it. And I think that we live what we preach in terms of being committed and consistent. And when you develop a program, it takes a while. And I think sticking with your program is huge. People tend to leave when there's problems. And I don't think that we really have problems. So we all want to stay and see our kids through. And we love this community.
Mhm.
And I can echo that. And I think we're supportive of each other as coaches as well. We want to see each other's programs do well. We want to see us represent Flag High in the best light. And for me, it's just really trying to honestly get to the level that Coach Painter is at and Coach Haglin. They've been very successful in what they're doing. So coming in, it's not hard for me to try and just emulate them and chase what they got. So it's been good. It's been fun.
Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know both of you over the years. Good luck to Coach Painter at Fountain Hills. Good luck to Coach Johnson. And do you have any tournaments coming up, or are we just waiting for November and then preseason to start?
Well, hopefully we'll supposed to have one next weekend. We'll see how that goes here in town. And then in October, we'll have some stuff. We got invited to a couple tournaments, more showcase type stuff. And so, we'll get a chance to see Sal Point. We played them early on. We'll get a chance to see some of the other top 5A and 6A schools. So with us
Always Sal
it'll
Point.
be good.
It's always, I mean, beach volleyball. I don't think Coach Painter does South Point. I think they're Division III, but it seems like you and the volleyball, it's soccer. It's always South Point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, somebody got to break through, so we're gonna keep trying to see him and knock at the door and see if we can, shock the state one of these days soon.
Every superhero needs.
Well, thank you, Coach.
Go, Coach. Go, Coach.
Every superhero needs a nemesis.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, Coach, again, thank you very much for joining us. It's just a pleasure having you on the show. It's always great seeing you and talking to you. And best of luck for the remainder of the year. And we'll have to check in, especially as it gets closer to the state meet time, and just see how everything's going.
Sounds good. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So, Russell, what time you say you getting out and you coming up today?
I'll probably be up in the early afternoon. Say hi to some folks, go to the stadium early, watch the game, then make the mad dash back down because I got to work tomorrow morning. But that's life being Mr. Flag Coco,
That is life being Mr. Flag Coco. You got to be dedicated.
Yeah, there's a lot of times I've gone watching your games, and I hit the road. I might stop at Burger King on the way out of town, but no, I'm always back at work the next day and dreading it. But
well, I know we as a community definitely appreciate your dedication, appreciate you coming out and seeing and covering, not just in essence the football aspect, the football rivalry, branching off, covering things like cross country, basketball, volleyball. I mean, just really keeping everybody in the know with Northern Arizona sports here in Flagstaff. So we definitely appreciate what you do.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I know you got to get ready and get on. I'm gonna actually just sit up and do some work today. So I'm gonna try and be productive for the rest of the day. We started off on the right foot, so I'm gonna do that. Hey, I don't know what everybody else out there got to do, but I do know one thing: you ain't got to go home,
but you can't stay here.
Peace.